laughing at me, finding funny my tragedy.
N is for nobody knows. Something I love about publishing is that in spite of years of experience and expertise, nobody knows what makes a book work commercially or not. This always brings to mind the famous Donald Rumsfeld.
There are known knowns. There are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know.
Sorry about the new set for take 6. I must have pressed the wrong button on take 5. An early lesson I learned was never to listen to experts who are certain they know how well or not a book will do. The good old hunch, seat of the pants style, is still the best forecaster. I've seen more than once how dead certs flop. You can have all the runes lined up in a row, double-page spread booked on the Mail on Sunday, and it will still fall flat on its face. And followers don't help much either. That was an expensive lesson to learn. Just because an author or artist has 50,000 followers doesn't mean the publisher has even 500 book sales. It's the fresh idea, the idea whose time has come, but needs a publicity angle that will sell books. Nobody knew about these runaway bestsellers. They just seemed to come out of the blue.
Take Eats, Shoots and Leaves. The first print run was only 10,000, and it's gone on to be a massive success all over the Anglosphere, with sales well into the millions. Or even more surprisingly, Longitude. Who'd ever thought a small format hardback, not much bigger than a gift book, would go on to sell millions everywhere? And they don't even have to be well written. Take the Da Vinci Code, with plot holes all over the place and seemingly not edited at all. And talking about poorly written success stories, the unreadable blog that became a book that became a film. And of course, bingo! Who'd ever have thought? Famously turned down by 29 or so experts, and I'd have been one of them. The book that built Bloomsbury, and it just goes to show that when it goes right, it goes spectacularly right. So yes, nobody knows. O is for outsourcing. It can be heaven, and it can be hell. Whether optimal or suboptimal, it's how we independents get things done. We go virtual and outsource whatever we need. It is an outsourced world these days, fueled by multinational layoffs. So, when Penguin and Random House merge, suddenly dozens of skilled staff are laid off. There are no other corporate jobs, so inevitably they set themselves up as one-person companies. And they all rather like, for the first time, having no boss. And this is where it can go wrong for the publisher, when they forget that they're still part of a team, as strong as the weakest link, even if they are all alone in their spare bedroom or garden shed, which is where most of them will spend their days. P is for publicity. Public perception, press promotion, puff and pow. Well, to state the bleeding obvious, if no one knows about it, no one's going to buy it. Publicity is creative. It's as creative as any other part of the process. And here this means thinking up new publicity angles, thinking of new ways to tell the world about the book. There are some tools we can use. Gorkana, for instance, is a media database, and a number of others we subscribe to. And these track where reviewers and increasingly bloggers are working, and also reviewers or bloggers working in each special interest or niche. Now, all publishers and authors want reviews, but there are just not enough column inches available. So all we publishers can do is lead the horse to water by making sure the media know about the book, but we cannot make them review it any more than we can make the readers buy it. Social media, blogs and vlogs are the new online and on-screen spaces that are replacing the ever-decreasing column inches. This is a whole new way of working, and of course there's no way of measuring how many additional books were sold by having someone spend half a day on social media. It's like the old saying, only half of advertising works, but nobody knows which half. Q is for the Queen's English. Oh boy. Yes, a minefield, full of opinions of rights and wrongs. It all gets a lot of people very excited. So Heaven invented style guides to try to lay down some rules. Each publisher has their own style guide, based around these standards. For the UK, Oxford for Publishers and The Economist for Media are the main ones, and in the US, Chicago and the New York Times are the main ones respectively. Whether a university press, one of the major museums or galleries, or newspaper magazine, each will have their own style guide. So inevitably, most of us end up with a hybrid. Ours is part V&A, part Royal Collection, part Royal Academy, but all are variations on a theme. The main rule is to be consistent. So 18th century, for example, is always presented in the same format. Captions can be particularly tricky, but style guide or not, it is still a minefield. R stands for risks and rewards. Risks and rewards sounds like we have a 50-50 bet. Not so. Publishing is really a great way to lose money, and that 50-50 should really be 90-10. The economics of book publishing are depressing, but at least they are easy to understand. So with average 50% book trade discount and 30% sales and distribution costs, mean that we as the publisher end up with about a third of the recommended retail price. So let's say for a £25 illustrated non-fiction book, which is typical of what we do, we end up with about £8. The typical costs are about £1,000 per £1 of the RRP, or £100 a page. So a £25 book will cost about £25,000 to make. Or put another way, a £25 book at 250 pages will cost £25,000 to make. So we have £25,000 at risk in year one, and if the run sells out, £8,000 reward in years 2 or 3. Which is why all low print run, high value non-fiction is subsidised one way or another. Our approach is to enter into a kind of joint venture with our authors, paying 50%.